stop what you're doing right now. Because in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you a liquid that costs less than $2, that permanently destroys engine rust down to the molecular level, and that the billion-dollar auto industry has been quietly burying for decades. Not hiding, not ignoring, actively, deliberately burying. And by the end of this video, you will never walk into a parts store and pay $30, $40, or $60 for a rust treatment spray ever again. What I'm about to show you has been used by ordinary people, by military mechanics, and by survival communities for generations. It works better than anything on the shelf. And the reason you have never heard about it in a mainstream garage or a YouTube ad is simple. There is no profit in it for them. Think about that for a second. The global automotive aftermarket industry is worth over $400 billion every single year. A massive chunk of that money comes from rust converters, rust inhibitors, rust-proof coatings, and the replacement parts you buy because your engine components corroded before they should have. Rust is not just an inconvenience to these companies. Rust is a revenue stream. Your rusting car is their business model. And when something comes along that is cheap enough for any person to buy at a grocery store, effective enough to permanently neutralize rust without a single specialty tool, and simple enough that a teenager in a driveway can do it in an afternoon, that thing does not get advertised. That thing gets buried. The auto industry does not fear good mechanics. They fear informed people. They fear the person who knows that the same chemical process a Roman soldier used to preserve his iron armor 2,000 years ago can save your engine block today. They fear this video. Now, before I show you exactly what this liquid is and how to use it, let us talk about where this knowledge actually comes from. Because this is not some internet rumor. This is not a hack someone invented last year. This goes back further than most people realize, and the science behind it is completely real, completely documented, and completely suppressed in modern consumer culture. The history of this method begins with tannins, tannic acid. If that name sounds unfamiliar, that is exactly the point. Tannins are organic compounds found in oak bark, in black tea, in certain tree galls, and in dozens of plants that human beings have been cultivating and using for thousands of years. The ancient Romans knew that soaking iron in solutions derived from oak galls and bark created a dark, hardened surface that resisted corrosion far longer than untreated metal. Roman blacksmiths and armory workers used tannin-rich solutions as a finishing step on weapons and armor. They did not have the vocabulary of chemistry. They did not call it iron tannate. But they knew it worked, and they passed that knowledge down through generations of metalworkers across Europe and the Middle East. Fast forward to the Second World War. The United States Navy had a serious problem. Ships, submarines, vehicles, and machinery were corroding at catastrophic rates in saltwater environments. The cost of replacement parts and the logistical nightmare of maintaining corroded equipment in active combat zones was enormous. Military researchers, working under pressure and with limited budgets, began documenting and standardizing rust conversion methods that used phosphoric acid and tannic acid-based compounds. These were not exotic laboratory chemicals. They were derived from widely available natural and industrial sources. The military records from this period, some of which are still partially classified and others that have been quietly declassified without fanfare, show clearly that tannic acid-based rust conversion outperformed many synthetic coatings in field conditions. It was cheap, it was reliable, it did not require special equipment. After the war, when the American auto industry exploded in the 1950s and the consumer economy began building itself around planned obsolescence, this knowledge did not disappear. It was absorbed. It was quietly noted by chemists working for major manufacturers, and then set aside in favor of proprietary products that could be patented, branded, and sold at a massive markup. The goal was never to eliminate rust for the consumer. The goal was to sell the consumer a product that delayed rust just long enough to keep them coming back. That is the business model. That has always been the business model. So what is this $2 liquid? It is black tea, specifically a strong, heavily brewed concentrate of plain black tea. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that sounds too simple. You are thinking there must be a catch. There is no catch. Black tea contains tannic acid in concentrations high enough to chemically react with iron oxide, which is rust, and convert it into iron tannate. Iron tannate is a dark, stable, molecularly bonded compound that does not continue to corrode. It does not flake off. It does not bubble under paint. It bonds directly to the metal at the surface level and essentially turns the rust into a protective layer. This is not covering the rust. This is not painting over it and hoping for the best. This is a chemical conversion that changes the actual composition of the corroded surface. That is the difference between what you buy in a bottle at the auto store and what you are going to make in your own kitchen for less than $2. A box of plain, unflavored black tea, the cheapest store brand you can find, costs between $1 and $2 depending on where you shop. You need approximately 10 to 15 tea bags to brew a concentrate strong enough for this application. That is your entire materials cost. Compare that to the leading rust converter sprays on the market. which run anywhere from $15 to $60 per application, require multiple coats, and in many cases still fail within 2 to 3 years because they are designed to fail. They are designed to bring you back to the store. Now let me walk you through exactly how to do this, step by step, because the process matters. Doing this correctly means the treatment lasts. Doing it wrong means you wasted an afternoon and $2, so pay attention. The first thing you need to do is clean the rusted area as thoroughly as you can, using mechanical means only. That means a wire brush, sandpaper, or a wire wheel attachment on a drill if you have one. You're not trying to remove all the rust at this stage. You're trying to remove loose, flaking surface rust and any grease, oil, or dirt that would prevent the tea concentrate from making direct contact with the metal. Grease is the enemy here. If you have oil contamination on the surface, wipe it down with a clean rag and a small amount of acetone or rubbing alcohol before you start. Let it dry completely. Once your surface is cleaned of loose debris and degreased, brew your tea concentrate. Bring about 2 cups of water to a full boil and steep 10 to 15 black tea bags in it for a minimum of 15 minutes. You want this to be as dark and strong as possible. The darker the brew, the higher the tannic acid concentration, and the more effective the conversion will be. Let it cool to room temperature before you apply it. Applying it hot does not improve the reaction and can cause uneven results on metal that has been sitting in outdoor temperatures. Now apply the tea concentrate directly to the rusted surface using a stiff bristled brush, a clean rag, or a spray bottle if you want more even coverage on a large area. You want to saturate the rusted surface completely. Do not be stingy. Work the liquid into every pitted area, every crevice, every corner where rust has established itself. You will notice within minutes that the surface begins to darken. That darkening is the iron tannate formation. That is the chemical conversion happening in real time. You are watching the rust being neutralized. Allow the first application to sit for at least 30 minutes. For heavy rust, meaning surfaces that are deeply pitted or have multiple layers of oxidation, apply a second coat immediately after the first has dried to a tacky finish. For severely corroded areas, you may want to do 3 applications over the course of a few hours. The key is saturation and patience. Do not rush this step. The conversion process needs time and repeated exposure to fully penetrate the oxidized layers. Here is a critical pro tip that most people skip and then wonder why their results are not as permanent. After your final application is dried completely, which usually takes 2 to 4 hours depending on temperature and humidity, seal the treated surface. You can use a basic oil-based primer, a clear coat spray, or even a thin layer of linseed oil if you are working on an area that does not require paint. The iron tannate layer you have created is stable and highly corrosion resistant on its own, but sealing it prevents future moisture infiltration and makes the treatment genuinely permanent rather than just long-lasting. Without a sealer, you are looking at a protection window of 1 to 3 years. With a sealer applied over the converted surface, you are looking at a treatment that will outlast most manufactured coatings. One important safety note: wear gloves throughout this entire process. Tannic acid stains skin deeply, and those stains take days to fade. It will not harm you, but you will walk around looking like you spent a weekend processing walnuts. Also, if you are working inside a vehicle engine bay or in any enclosed space, ensure you have adequate ventilation. The tea concentrate itself produces no harmful fumes. But if you're using acetone for degreasing or any type of spray sealer, treat those products with the same caution you always would. Let me also address something you are probably thinking about right now, which is engine internals. This treatment is ideal for external engine components: brackets, frames, suspension components, exposed metal in wheel wells, and body panels. For internal engine components that are submerged in oil, rust formation works differently and requires a different approach entirely. What we are treating today is the visible, accessible rust that attacks the outside of your engine, your frame, and your body. That is where most rust damage originates, and where catching it early with this method saves you from catastrophic structural damage down the road. The cost comparison here should make every person watching this furious. A full-frame treatment on an average vehicle using commercial rust converter products and professional application can run anywhere from $300 to over $1,000 depending on your location and the severity of the rust. The materials cost for doing the exact same treatment yourself using this method on the entire undercarriage and engine bay of a full-size truck is under $5. The labor is an afternoon. The result is equal or superior to what a shop would give you, and it does not come with a warranty designed to expire just before the rust comes back. They do not want you to do this. The mechanics do not want you to know this is possible. The parts stores do not want you walking past their $40 rust converter sprays without picking one up. The manufacturers who build planned obsolescence into every component of your vehicle certainly do not want you extending the life of that vehicle by a decade using $2 worth of tea from the grocery store. But you know now. And knowledge like this, practical, historical, scientifically grounded knowledge that has been quietly pushed out of mainstream culture by corporate interest, is exactly what this channel exists to bring back. This is ancient knowledge that kept Roman iron sharp and intact. It is military-grade chemistry that kept Navy equipment functional in the harshest conditions on Earth. And it is your $2 solution to a problem that industry has been charging you hundreds of dollars to manage, because they never wanted you to solve it permanently. Now you can. If you want more suppressed, forgotten, and buried knowledge like this, knowledge about survival, self-reliance, and doing more with less so you never have to depend on overpriced industry solutions, again, hit subscribe right now. Every week we go deeper into what they do not teach you and what they actively do not want you to learn. And check the description for the link to our Forbidden Camping Vault, where we have compiled the most powerful lost knowledge guides we have ever produced, completely free for this community. The information is there. The choice to use it is yours.